Tell us about the
life story.
yeah, the life story,
story.
the wildfires of California. When did that happen?
So our fire was the campfire, which
Mhm.
was November 8th of 2018. Will be coming up on 5 years.
Okay.
So our fire decimated the entire town of Paradise, and it was 50,000 people, 18,000 homes, all gone within a few hours. There was nowhere to live. People were going and maybe their houses were gone. They were buying houses on the spot in the entire area. So it was a 3 to 4 hour drive one way. I was still working. He had actually just had major back surgeries and was using a walker when the fire happened. And I was at work and looking evacuating people, and I called him and said, "Hey, the fire's coming. We gotta go," because I knew we would need a little more time to get out. We ended up staying with a friend for about a month. We were like, well, there's nowhere to live. I was still working, so we needed somewhere closer than 3.5 hours to get to work at a reasonable time. We went and we bought a coach, and we lived in a friend's orchard for 9 months.
Oh my gosh.
in the RV. With our 3 dogs. That's where it started. We had never owned an RV before.
Never towed one.
Yeah, never.
We knew none of the tricks of the trade. It was a good learning experience.
Because initially it takes your breath away.
Mhm.
You know, the whole process of saying, "Look, we have nothing. We have absolutely nothing. Literally, the clothes on our back, and our friend who gave him his clothes off his back." We ended up having some family stuff that we were doing on the East Coast, and I was going to be flying back and forth. And he goes, "Well, the house is on wheels. We take the house." I was like, "All right, well, that makes sense." So we just kind of, I took a leave of absence from work and we needed to stay for his work. And so we, just went from there and tried it out to see if we liked it. Because sometimes when you're full time, I say it's all about perspective. Because when you're towing, it's like, oh my goodness, that thing's so big. Oh, look at that. You're trying to back the trailer. It's like, oh, that thing's huge. When you live in it, you go, oh, this thing is so small. It's definitely about perspectives. And some days it seems very small and oh, why are we doing this? But overall, like I said, initially it takes your breath away, but the fire provided us an opportunity that we wouldn't have had otherwise. And we were there with a clean slate. If not then, when?
We were looking at like 12, 15 years down the road for retirement. So it was the seed was planted, but we were way ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
And with the life changes, we decided to
try it.
Yeah. We're here now. Putting in the solar, I have to say, it looks simple. The pictures that you get in your pamphlet and with all that, your instructions are very simple. And you can do it to the point of putting in solar, your solar charger, and to the batteries. That's great.
It's point A to point B, and it's a very linear process. Ours is not, because we have a generator and shore power, so that's where things started to get a little tricky. We consider ourselves handy. We've done a lot of repairs, and that's something even brand new. We bought it brand new. It's just like owning a home. You have maintenance and you have repairs, and stuff breaks down. All of that happens. So we considered ourselves handy.
It was difficult to get the information to continue, to go from the batteries to your inverter and pushing the power throughout the coach.
And the shore.
It was interesting that then I'm not finding the technical information. So then I go to YouTube, and we would get to a point and the information kind of stops. I had some great help from some very knowledgeable people.
We even called a mobile guy. And said, and I mean, it says mobile solar installation. Called him and said, hey, we just kind of, we feel comfortable doing the work. We just need somebody to hold our hand. He's like, "It sounds like you're doing a good job. You go ahead." And I'm like, "Oh,
No, I'm still scared. Because it's electricity, and electricity is dangerous, and
fire.
solar, I'm really surprised how much it produces. We got to a point, I thought I had it correct. We're going on a big trip. We're very excited. And I make one subtle mistake. The way I had it wired up in here, the next day or a couple days down the road, I turned the generator on, and now I have everything pushing power where it shouldn't. And we're sitting inside just a couple minutes after I hit the switch to turn the generator.
You're beeping.
I hear beeping, and I go, "What is that gentle beeping sound?" And then I remembered the inverter has an alarm, and I beat feet down here, and we got smoke and sputtering and arcing.
Yeah, it was.
And I quickly shut everything down, and then she goes, I was looking at a harvest hose back before I finished everything, and she goes, it was with
solar energy systems.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I was like, because I was like looking at it.
She's trying to be nice to me.
I didn't want to offend him and be like, because he's like done all this research, and then he spends every night researching. And in the morning we would get up and do a little section, and then he'd say, well, let me double check that. And I mean, something that took us weeks of, a little bit each day and laboring over each decision. It took 3 days. Actually, technically, like
to rebuild the whole
2.5, yeah, for you guys to get us totally up to speed. And
but it was perfect, because I'm sitting there,
so let me see if I can get into this harvest hose. So I send a
You guys are probably
request.
thinking the same thing.
Oh, I was like,
get on that phone.
I got on there and I sent the request and messaged back and forth. He said, "Yep, we have a spot for you." And then we're full in the bays, but we can sit and chat with you and see and just make sure everything's safe. I said, "Okay." We went without big expectations, but with the hopes that we would be able to make it safe until we could get it squared away.
So we were finding we really enjoyed doing the boondocking and going out and being away from stuff. So that's where we started to explore solar. Also, COVID made it difficult sometimes to get propane. We found getting in to fill up our fuel tanks with a generator very difficult. So we were like, oh, okay, solar's where we wanted to go with that. So we came to you guys, and it's not because you're sitting in front of me. It was everybody in the office was great. They came out,
response,
they looked at what our problems were, what our equipment was, and provided us not just this is what you have to do. It was these are some solutions and some options.
And not totally scrapping our system. Like, we had just invested a chunk of money and a lot of time in installing it, and it wasn't like, well, that's just it. Nobody ever said that's not going to work, you need to go with everything that we sell. It was, okay, let's look at your system, let's see what's functional, let's see if anything got damaged with the the sparks and the smoke. I think part of the problem of finding information online is that everything's very individual. Like, our RV is going to be different than the next guy and the next guy. And we could have two of the exact same RV, but our needs are different than theirs or wants. But every single system is different. So I think that's part of why we had such trouble finding information, is because it's not cookie cutter at all. And we said, this is what we have. And they said, and I was expecting to see like a system, and that's like, well, we recommend this system. And it
pull off the shelf complete.
Right, this is exact. And it was like, okay, well, what do you expect to run? And there was a lot of conversation.
You guys made us an appointment immediately.
Yeah.
Which was great, because here our drive to you, I was worried every single day, almost all day long. Of okay,
Is
that
everything
arch.
okay? Is
Okay, did
everything
I get
okay?
everything shut off right? And is it? Are we still?
Yeah.
A neat process because it was we knew what we wanted. Apparently, I didn't know how to get there, but you provided us with the options. You asked what we wanted to accomplish, and then this is how we can get there.
Mhm.
And it was nice, and a way that I did it. You guys came up with a totally separate idea, and that worked great.
And then you had everything we needed there.
Mm.
There wasn't ordering of parts. There wasn't, I don't know how many batteries you guys keep in stock, but we were like, yeah, thousands of batteries. And even looking at the batteries and showing us the batteries that you use versus other batteries, and in making that decision, because some of the ones, they've got a lot of advertising, a lot of name behind them, and marketing behind them, and it's like, and you look at what's in front of you and you say, well, this is this battery, and this is what happens over time, and explaining how they're built, and just having that stuff in front of us. And you had everything that we needed and we didn't know we needed, like the automatic generator switch, and that was an upgrade from our existing system that we added to make it function the way we wanted it to. So we had left after our install, sorry, we're jumping around a little bit, but we had left after our install and fully charged again, and we hit the road again, and then I think it was that morning you said, the fridge is on electric. And I went, wait a minute. I said, so when we turn the power off on the pole, then it's not going to switch over to gas. And it was like kind of this epiphany. Yeah, total aha moment. I'm like, we're not gonna need to get as much propane. I was like, wait a minute. So that day, in our travel day, it was about the same amount of time. It was a lot more sunny. We came in, the batteries, I think they had gone down to like 58% that day. Yeah. So there was more power coming in, and we weren't using any propane. So like when we hooked up and we disconnected power, I went back inside and I was like, yep, it's still on electric. And I was pretty excited to see that.
And it goes back to how you said it's a fuel source. So now I'm not buying propane.
And we had never calculated that. Getting those 40-pound tanks out and dragging them to the tractor supplier. And sometimes we go places where we're not around a lot. Like right now we're in the middle of town, essentially. Right. It's nice, but but a lot of times we have to plan that out, where when we're using a lot of propane, it's like, okay, I think, we're gonna be close to running out, so we're gonna, fill up on this day, and then we're gonna be remote. And now with the solar, that gives us the opportunity to be away longer and not have to worry about when we're gonna fill that propane, because we have the ability to. The solar actually lasted, so when we were testing the system, we had our install done, and then you guys encouraged us to stay and test the system and do everything we would normally do before we left, to make sure that everything operated and we understood it. So we were testing it, and we have the power off, and we're running off of the solar, and we're waiting to see to test the generator switch, to make sure it's gonna. We actually ended up having to change the parameters to force it to test, because it was taking, like, the solar was working so well for us that it was taking a long time to get
those
the battery.
Those
sunny days. So this, we're able to see what we're doing today. We can see where we're pulling power from, how much power usage we have going on inside the coach right now. So if the AC will kick on, then obviously we can see that draw. It doesn't say AC is running, but we can see the draw, and we can also see how much power is coming in. We can see if the generator starts and see what what amount of power is being pushed in from the generator. So I love the apps. It's totally different. We learned a lot. And walking into the showroom, I went in and he was still outside, and I walked in, and then I came back up. I said, "You gotta go in there. You gotta go in there. They have everything." And then that was just the showroom. That's not even, like I said, what you had in stock. And we didn't have to wait for anything. Like everything we needed.
You also, while we were going through it, gave us cost-saving measures.
Yeah.
So the tax credits and just had a good understanding of how that worked and the benefits of adding another panel.
Yeah, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't consider when they're talking about a quote, that there is a tax benefit to this, and this is a secondary home. So that's where we say, what's the secondary residence? It qualifies for the tax credit. So you already had solar on the roof, but we want to make sure we can put more solar on the roof, not just for the solar benefits, because the more solar you have, the more power you got coming in, but also the tax credit, and so that helps you guys out too.
Yeah,
immensely.
But you had the understanding of that, and were able to show us, here, this is how that works, and just kind of give us the extra information. And we were already familiar with it, but I'm sure there's people that aren't.
No.
So